My name is Ethan Sterling. I'm 28 years old. 13 years ago, on a storm-heavy October night, my father looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Get out. I don't need a son like you." I was 15, soaked to the bone, no plan, no place to go. All because of a lie, not a mistake, not a misunderstanding. A deliberate lie told by my younger sister, crafted carefully. Delivered with tears I knew were fake. My parents didn't question it. They didn't hesitate. They chose her, like they always did. And just like that, I was gone. Erased. 3 hours later, they got a call from the hospital. I'd been hit by a car. When my father walked into that room, he didn't look at me first. His attention locked on the woman sitting beside my bed. His hands started shaking. You shouldn't be here. How did you, Dr. Eleanor Smith? One of the most respected professors in the state. She was the one who found me on the road. She was the one who saved my life. That night didn't just break me. It rewrote everything. And last month, I stood on stage at my sister's graduation as the keynote speaker. They had no idea I was coming. But before I tell you what happened when they saw me, let me take you back to where it all started. I learned early that in our house, my sister's tears carried more weight than anything I could ever achieve. Her name was Ava. She was 8 when I was 11. And somehow, everything always bent in her direction. Not because she asked for it directly, but because she didn't have to. She just had to look hurt. I remember the first time it really clicked. I'd spent weeks building a water filtration system for the regional science fair. Late nights at the kitchen table, diagrams, trial runs, fixing leaks with duct tape and stubborn patience. When the results came in, I took first place. Beat out over 40 students. I ran home with the ribbon in my hand, chest tight with something I didn't feel, often pride. "Mom, I won," I said, stepping into the kitchen. She smiled, pulled me into a quick hug. "That's great, Ethan." For a second, I thought maybe this time would be different. Then, the front door opened. Ava walked in from dance practice, face red, already crying. I messed up my turn. She choked. Everyone laughed at me. Mom's arms left me immediately. She dropped to her knees, pulled Ava close. Hey, it's okay. You'll get it next time." I stood there, ribbon still in my hand. No one asked to see it. No one asked how I won. That was the pattern. Achievement, Ava upset. I disappeared. It didn't matter what I did. Ava always needed more attention, more care, more patience, and I was old enough, apparently, to need less. Or at least, that's what they expected. By the time I turned 14, I stopped bringing things home. Report cards stayed in my backpack. Straight A's didn't mean much when compared to Ava's bad day. I learned to keep things to myself, celebrate quietly, take up less space. It was easier that way. At least, it caused fewer problems. The summer before high school, I got accepted into a 2-week environmental science program. Full scholarship, real labs, real researchers. It felt like a door opening. I showed the acceptance email to my parents at dinner. Dad glanced at it, nodded. "That's good." Then Ava spoke. "Wait, he gets to leave for 2 weeks." Her voice cracked instantly. "That's not fair." Mom reached over, rubbed her shoulder. "Sweetheart, why does he get to go and I don't?" Ava's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want him to go." Silence stretched across the table. I already knew how this ended. Mom looked at me carefully. "Ethan, maybe you could skip it this year." I didn't respond. Dad added, "Your sister needs you around. Family comes first." Family. That word always seemed to mean the same thing. Her first. I nodded slowly. "Yeah. Okay." I told my teachers I couldn't go. Said it was a family commitment. No one asked further. And just like that, the opportunity was gone. Ava stopped crying within minutes. That was the other part of the pattern. Her storms passed quickly. Mine? I just learned to carry. Over time, I stopped reacting altogether. No arguments, no pushback. It wasn't worth it. Nothing I said ever changed the outcome. I wasn't invisible. I was just expected to endure, to be the stable one, the understanding one, the one who didn't make things harder. By 15, I felt like a guest in my own house, present when needed, blamed when convenient, ignored the rest of the time. I started staying out longer. Library, school, anywhere quiet, anywhere predictable, anywhere I didn't feel like I had to compete for basic acknowledgement. I told myself I just needed to hold on. 2 more years, graduate, leave, build something that was actually mine. I could make it 2 more years, that's what I believed. I just didn't know that everything was already shifting underneath me. And that Ava had stopped just needing attention. She'd started learning how to control the room. The shift didn't happen all at once. At first, it was small things easy to dismiss if you wanted to keep the peace. A hoodie of mine would go missing. I'd find it later in Ava's room. "Did you take it?" I'd ask. Keeping my voice neutral. "No," she'd say immediately. No hesitation, no guilt. Even when it was sitting right there on her chair, Mom would sigh from across the hall. "Ethan, don't start, it's just a hoodie." So I'd drop it. That was the rule I learned. If it was small, it wasn't worth fighting. And if it wasn't worth fighting, it wasn't worth proving. Then, it escalated. One morning, $50 went missing from Mom's wallet. I didn't even know about it until Dad called me into his study that afternoon. "Did you take money from your mother?" he asked. Arms crossed. "No," I said immediately. "Ava said she saw you near her purse." I blinked. "I wasn't. I left early for school." Dad's jaw tightened. "So she's lying?" "Yes," I said, before I could stop myself. "She is. That was a mistake. Don't accuse your sister," he snapped. "I'm not accusing, I'm telling you enough." His voice cut clean through mine. "I'm disappointed in you, Ethan. I thought you were better than this." That sentence stuck harder than any punishment, because I hadn't done anything. But it didn't matter. I lost my phone for a month, grounded, and the science program they'd considered letting me attend the next year gone. "We can't trust you with that kind of independence right now," Mom said. I stood there, quiet, hands clenched at my sides. From the hallway, Ava watched, and when our parents turned away, she smiled. It wasn't big, just enough. Just long enough for me to see it. That was the moment something clicked. This wasn't accidental anymore. She knew exactly what she was doing. And worse, she knew it worked. After that, things moved faster. A broken vase, my fault. Ava failed a test she didn't study for. I should have helped her more. A rumor at school about Ava cheating, apparently. I'd started it. I stopped defending myself. Not because I agreed, but because it didn't matter. The outcome never changed. Truth didn't carry weight in our house. Emotion did. And Ava controlled that better than anyone. By 15, I wasn't just overlooked. I was the default explanation for anything that went wrong. The easiest answer, the safest person to blame. Home stopped feeling like a place. It felt like a system, and I already knew my role in it. I spent more time outside library, empty classrooms, anywhere quiet enough to think. Somewhere I didn't have to measure every word. I told myself the same thing, over and over. Just survive, graduate, leave. 2 more years, that was the plan. But plans don't mean much when someone else decides to change the rules. And Ava, she wasn't just lying anymore. She was building something bigger, something that would make everything before it look small. I didn't see it coming. Not fully. But I felt it. Like pressure before a storm. October of my junior year felt off. Not dramatic, not obvious. Just heavy. Like something in the air had shifted and no one was saying it out loud. There was a guy in my AP chemistry class, Jason Walker. Easygoing, decent student, terrible at balancing equations. He'd asked me for help a couple of times after class, and I didn't think much of it. We'd sit in the lab, go over stoichiometry, talk through problems. That was it. No hidden meaning, no story. Just homework. What I didn't realize was that Ava had built her own version of that story. She had a crush on him. Not the casual kind, the obsessive kind. She'd walk past my classroom just to catch a glimpse of him. I'd seen his name scribbled in her notebook once when I went to grab a pen she'd taken from me. Hearts, initials, the whole thing. I didn't connect the dots, not until it was too late. One afternoon, Jason caught me at my locker. "Hey," he said, adjusting his backpack. "Thanks for yesterday, you saved me." "No problem. We should study together for the midterm," he added. "Library." "Yeah, that works. Simple, normal." I closed my locker and saw Ava standing at the end of the hallway, watching. Her face was pale, still. That night, she barely spoke at dinner, just pushed food around her plate while Mom kept asking if she was okay. "I'm fine," she muttered. But she wasn't crying, and that was worse. Because Ava without tears meant she was thinking, planning. I should have known. Thursday, we had a guest speaker in biology, Dr. Eleanor Smith from the State University. She talked about education systems, access, how some students fall through the cracks. I stayed after, asked questions. She looked at me for a second longer than most people did. "You think differently," she said, handing me a card. "Don't let anyone shut that down." I nodded, thanked her, didn't think much of it. I had no idea she'd be the one pulling me off the ground a week later. By Friday, the storm warnings started rolling in. Big one. Wind advisories, flood alerts. The kind of storm where everything feels tense even before it hits. Dinner was quiet. Ava didn't look at me once, but I could feel it. That pressure again. Like something waiting to snap. Around 8. I heard it. Crying. Loud. Sharp. Ava. I froze in my room. Pen hovering over my notebook. Mom's voice floated up from downstairs. Sweetheart, what's wrong? More sobbing. Then Ethan. My name. Dad's voice. Hard. Get down here, now. My stomach dropped. I walked downstairs slowly, each step heavier than the last. Ava sat on the couch, curled into Mom, shoulders shaking. Mom stroked her hair, whispering something soft. Dad stood near the fireplace, arms crossed, face already set. What's going on? I asked. Ava looked up, eyes red, tears streaming. But for just a split second I saw something else. Cold. Focused. Then, it was gone. Tell him, Dad said. Ava's lip trembled. Why do you hate me so much? The question hit like a glitch. What? I don't hate you. Then why? She choked. Have you been spreading rumors about me? My mind went blank. What are you talking about me and Jason? She said, voice breaking. About me cheating. About me being a liar. I never said any of that. Don't lie to her. Mom said quietly. I'm not lying. Ava pulled out her phone, hands shaking. Then explain this. She showed them screenshots, messages, group chats, my name, my profile. Saying things I'd never typed, never even thought. My chest tightened. Those aren't real. Someone's using my account. Stop. Dad's voice cracked like thunder. Just stop. I didn't. And Jason, Ava pushed. Standing now. You knew I liked him. But you kept meeting him. Staying after class, making me look stupid. He asked me for help. That's it, her voice rose. He told his friend he thinks you're cool. You did that on purpose. That's not. And last week, she cut in. You grabbed me on the stairs. Everything stopped. What? She pulled up her sleeve. A bruise. Dark. Fresh. I never touched you. You did, she whispered. I just didn't say anything because I thought maybe you'd stop. I didn't do that, I said, louder now. You're making this up, Ethan, Mom said, standing between us. This is serious. I know it is. Because it's not true. Then, how do you explain that? Dad demanded. Pointing at the bruise. I don't know. Maybe she. I stopped. But it was too late. Maybe she. What? Dad stepped closer. Maybe she did it herself. I finished. Silence. Ava's eyes widened. Fresh tears spilled instantly. You think I'd hurt myself just to blame you? Yes, I said, the word coming out sharp. Because you've been doing this for years. You lie. You always lie. Enough. Dad's voice dropped. Flat. Dangerous. Is this what's been happening? He asked. You've been bullying her, manipulating things, making her feel unsafe in her own house. No. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. My voice cracked for the first time. Please just listen to me. Just once. I've heard enough. His fist slammed against the mantel. I've heard enough excuses. They're not excuses. Then what are they? The truth. Mom shook her head slowly. I thought we raised you better than this. Ava buried her face in her hands. Perfect. Convincing. I looked at her. Really looked. And for a second, she looked back. No tears, no fear, just calculation. You're lying, I said quietly. I'm not, she replied, and her voice didn't shake. Something in my chest went cold. I turned to Dad. Please, you have to believe me. His expression didn't change. You're sick, Ethan. The word landed harder than anything else. Sick. Something's wrong with you. I'm not, and I'm not going to let you stay here and hurt your sister. He pointed toward the door. Get out. The storm rattled the windows. Dad, it's pouring outside. I don't care. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. His voice dropped lower. Colder. I don't need a son like you in this house. That was it. That was the moment everything broke. I looked at Mom. Hoping. Waiting. She didn't meet my eyes. Just held Ava closer. I grabbed my jacket. My hands were shaking. But I didn't say anything else. There was nothing left to say. The door slammed behind me. And just before it shut completely, I saw Ava through the glass. She wasn't crying anymore. She was smiling. The rain hit like a wall. Cold. Violent. Within seconds, I was soaked. I stood there for a moment. Waiting. Maybe he'd come after me. Maybe he'd realize nothing. The door stayed closed, so I walked. No destination. Just away. My phone buzzed. 8% battery. I tried calling a friend. No answer. Another. Voicemail. Everyone was home, safe. I kept moving. Wind cutting through my clothes, rain blurring everything in front of me. I barely saw the car until it was too late. Headlights, horn, brakes screaming. I tried to step back, too slow. The impact hit hard, everything flipped. My body slammed against the hood, then the pavement. Pain exploded through my skull, white, loud, then nothing made sense anymore. Rain filled my mouth, my ears rang, somewhere nearby. A door slammed, footsteps running. Hey, hey, can you hear me? A woman's voice, close, hands on my shoulder. Stay still. I'm calling 911. Just stay with me, okay? I tried to speak. Nothing came out. What's your name? She asked. My vision blurred. My parents. I managed. Okay. What's their number? They don't want me. She froze. What? They kicked me out. The words felt distant, heavy. Said, I'm sick. Silence. Then her voice changed. Steady. Firm. You're going to be okay. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Her face hovered above mine, familiar somehow. But I couldn't place it. Stay with me, she said, and then everything went dark. The first thing I remember clearly wasn't the pain, it was the sound. Machines beeping in uneven rhythms, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the sterile smell of antiseptic clinging to everything, and a voice, calm now, controlled. The concussion is severe. We're monitoring for internal bleeding. I tried to open my eyes. Too heavy. My body felt like it didn't belong to me. I'm staying, that same voice said. I'm not leaving him alone. Time blurred after that. Voices came and went. Fragments of conversations, doors opening, footsteps, questions I couldn't answer. At some point, I heard another voice. Familiar. We're Ethan Sterling's parents. My chest tightened. Even through the haze, they came. Of course they came. Not for me, for the situation. Then the woman's voice again, sharper now. I'm Dr. Eleanor Smith. A pause. Recognition. You're from the university, my mom said quietly. I am, Eleanor replied. And I'm also the one who hit your son with my car tonight. It was an accident, my dad said quickly. Your son was alone, in a storm, at night. Her tone didn't rise. But it cut. He's 15. Silence. Why, she asked. No one answered. He told me something before he lost consciousness. She continued. He said his parents didn't want him anymore. That's not. My sister's voice started. I heard him, Eleanor said, flat, more silence, heavy, uncomfortable. I'm going to call a social worker, she added. That won't be necessary, my dad said, trying to sound firm. It is, she replied, and something in her voice made it clear this wasn't a discussion. That was the last thing I heard before everything faded again. When I woke up properly, 3 days had passed. My head felt like it had been split open and stitched back together wrong. Every movement sent a dull ache through my skull, but the room was quiet, and she was still there. Dr. Eleanor Smith sat by the window, reading a file. When she noticed I was awake, she stood immediately and walked over. Hey, she said. Softer now. Take it slow. I blinked, trying to focus. You stayed. I managed. I said I would. No hesitation, no performance, just fact. I didn't know what to do with that. Over the next few days, she kept showing up, every morning, every afternoon. Sometimes just sitting there, working quietly, sometimes talking about school, about research, about things that felt normal, like I wasn't a problem to solve. My parents came once, brought a bag of clothes, some schoolwork. They stood at the foot of the bed like visitors. We're glad you're okay, my mom said. Dad nodded. You gave us a scare, that was it? No apology, no explanation, no mention of that night. Ava didn't come at all when they left. The room felt lighter. On the 5th day, a social worker came in. Her name was Rita. She had kind eyes and a careful voice, like she was used to people breaking mid-sentence. She asked about home, about what happened. I told her everything. Not dramatically, not emotionally, just facts. The lies, the pattern, the night. She listened, took notes, didn't interrupt. When I finished, she sat back slightly. Ethan, she said gently. You don't have to go back there. I stared at her. Then, where would I go? The door opened behind her. Dr. Smith stepped in. He can stay with me. The words landed heavier than anything else that day. I looked at her. What temporary foster placement? She said, glancing at Rita. I've already started the process. Why? My voice came out rough. You don't even know me. She walked closer, sat on the edge of the bed. For the same reason someone once did it for me. I frowned slightly. When I was 17, she said. My family kicked me out too. That I didn't expect. A teacher took me in, she continued. Changed everything. She met my eyes. You're not broken, Ethan. No one had said that before, not like that. Not without doubt. You think clearly. You pay attention, you don't react, you observe. That matters. I swallowed. Didn't know what to say. I'm not asking you to decide right now, she added. But if you want something different, it's an option. Something in my chest shifted. Not relief. Not yet. But space. For the first time in a long time, that night, staring at the ceiling of a hospital room that didn't feel like a trap, I made a decision. I wasn't going back. 6 months later. Everything looked different. Same name, different life. Dr. Smith's house was quiet, structured, predictable. Books everywhere, plants by the windows, music sometimes soft, classical, low enough that you barely noticed it. She gave me a room, said I could set it up however I wanted. No conditions, no expectations attached. I transferred schools, new environment, new people. No one knew anything about my past, no labels, no assumptions. I wasn't the problem, I was just Ethan. And for the first time, that felt like enough. The first 6 months weren't some dramatic transformation. There was no moment where everything suddenly felt fixed. It was quieter than that, more controlled. Dr. Smith Eleanor eventually didn't try to repair me. She didn't ask me to talk about what happened unless I brought it up. She didn't push. She just showed up. Every day. Consistent, predictable, safe. And that consistency did more than anything else ever could. Her house ran on structure. Mornings were calm. Evenings were quiet. Dinner at the same time. Conversations that didn't feel like traps. No sudden accusations, no emotional landmines. I didn't realize how much energy I'd been spending just anticipating conflict until it was gone. School became different too. Not easier, but clearer. I didn't have to split my attention between survival and performance anymore. So I focused. Grades went up not because I suddenly got smarter, but because I finally had the space to think. Eleanor noticed, not in a loud way, just small comments. You're consistent, you follow through, you don't cut corners. Things no one had ever said to me before. By senior year, I had a plan, college, education policy. At first, I thought it was about proving something. Proving I wasn't what they said I was, but that changed. Somewhere along the way, it stopped being about them and started being about control. Building something that couldn't be taken away from me. I got into a top university on a full scholarship. Eleanor read my acceptance letter twice. Didn't say much, just nodded once and said, "Good, this fits." That was her version of being proud. At graduation, she sat in the front row. No extended family, no big group, just her. And somehow, that felt bigger than anything I'd ever had before. College was intense. Long nights, heavy workload, competitive environment, but I adapted. I always did. I majored in education policy, minored in psychology. I wanted to understand systems, why some people get support and others fall straight through, why someone like me had to almost die before anyone stepped in. Summers, I interned, nonprofits, youth advocacy programs, grant writing teams. I learned how funding worked, how programs were built, how to take something abstract like help and turn it into something real, something measurable, something that actually changed outcomes. After graduation, I stayed, got a position as a research coordinator. Same university. Eleanor worked at different department, different building, professional distance, but still connected. At 25, I had the idea. Not a sudden inspiration. More like something that had been forming quietly for years. A scholarship program for students who didn't have stable homes, kids who were kicked out, ignored, written off. Students who needed a second chance. I called it exactly that. Second chances, not creative, but honest. Eleanor helped me structure it. Grant proposals, funding strategies, partnerships. We secured initial backing from 3 organizations, launched at 1 university, then 2, then 5. It grew faster than I expected. By 27, we'd awarded over $200,000 in scholarships. 47 students supported. 47 lives redirected. I didn't think about it as success. I thought about it as proof that what happened to me didn't end with me, that it turned into something useful. Media started reaching out. Local coverage at first, then academic journals, panels, conferences. I kept my story vague, no names, no details, just enough to explain the purpose. Then, one afternoon, my colleague David knocked on my office door. "You've been invited to speak," he said. "We're Riverside State University, graduation keynote." I didn't react immediately, but something in my chest tightened. I paused. "That's where my sister goes." David blinked. "You have a sister?" "Not really." He sat down. "We can decline." I looked at the stack of scholarship applications on my desk. Names, stories, situations that felt familiar. What's the theme? I asked. Resilience, educational equity. Of course it was. I leaned back slightly. Do I have control over the speech completely? I nodded once. I'll think about it. That night, I sat across from Eleanor at dinner. Told her everything. They don't know anything about me now, I said. Not this version. She didn't interrupt, just listened. What do you want to happen? She asked. I thought about that. Longer than I expected. I don't want revenge, I said finally. Then what? Closure. I met her eyes. I want them to see who I became, without them. She nodded slowly. Then do it, she said. But do it on your terms. The next morning, I called David. Tell them I accept. I didn't see Ava before the ceremony. Not in person, but I didn't need to. Social media filled in the gaps. Filtered photos. Perfect lighting. Carefully written captions about gratitude and family support. Smiles that looked effortless. A life that looked complete, like I'd never existed. One post stood out, a dinner photo. Ava sitting between my parents. All three of them raising glasses. Couldn't have done this without the two best people in the world. No mention of a brother. No trace of anything that didn't fit the narrative. I closed the app, didn't scroll again. There was nothing there for me. The morning of the ceremony, I dressed deliberately. Navy suit, clean lines. Nothing flashy. Eleanor handed me a tie. You'll need this, she said. I took it, nodded once. Front row, I asked. Always. That was enough. The campus was exactly how I remembered universities looking when I was younger. Wide lawns, old buildings, families everywhere, pride, expectation, noise. I arrived early, met President Walsh, polished, confident, practiced. He shook my hand like he already knew the impact of what I was about to say. Backstage was controlled chaos. Faculty adjusting robes, staff coordinating schedules, graduates peeking through curtains, looking for their families. I stood still, watched, waited. David handed me the program. I scanned it quickly. Row 3, Ava Sterling. Communications. I folded it. Didn't need to see more. Eleanor found me just before I went on. You're steady, she asked. Yes. Good. She adjusted my tie slightly, then stepped back. Go show them who you are. From the side of the stage, I could hear the crowd settling. Hundreds of voices blending into a low hum. President Walsh stepped up, gave the usual speech, introductions, applause. Then, our keynote speaker today? I stepped forward before he even finished. The light hit hard, bright, blinding for a second. Then everything came into focus. Rows of faces, caps, families. And then I saw them. Row 3, Ava, clapping, smiling. Mid-sentence to the girl next to her. Then she looked up, saw me, her hands stopped, smile dropped. Confusion first, then recognition. Then something close to panic. Behind her, row 8. My parents. Still clapping, not yet realizing, not yet connecting the name, the face, the voice. I reached the podium, adjusted the microphone, let the silence settle. Good morning. My voice carried clean, controlled, familiar. That was when my dad leaned forward, trying to place it, trying to understand why something felt off. I didn't rush. Today, I want to talk about resilience. Simple, measured, about what happens when everything you rely on disappears. The room quieted, attention shifted, focus tightened. I let a beat pass. Then, let me tell you about a 15-year-old boy. Ava's shoulders tensed. She was told I stopped. Corrected naturally. He was told that something was wrong with him. Now my mom's hand moved to her chest. He was told he didn't belong, that he was too broken to stay. People shifted in their seats. Uncomfortable, engaged. One night, during a storm, he was forced out of his own home. Whispers started, small, contained. He walked for hours, no phone, no plan. I paused. He was hit by a car. Silence dropped heavy across the room. No movement, no sound. But someone stopped. I glanced briefly toward Eleanor. She didn't see a problem to remove. She saw potential. Now Ava wasn't looking at me anymore. She was staring straight ahead, frozen. And that changed everything. I let the words sit. Then, that boy was me. No build-up, no drama. Just truth. The room went completely still. I saw my dad stand halfway before sitting back down. My mom's face broke. Ava didn't move at all. People around her started whispering louder now. Connecting it. Understanding. I didn't look away. I stand here today because someone chose to see value where others didn't. My voice didn't shake, didn't rise. It didn't need to. The Second Chances program exists for students like that 15-year-old boy. I rested my hands lightly on the podium. Because being rejected doesn't define you. What you build afterward does. I let my gaze sweep the room. Graduates, families, People who still believed success followed a straight line. It takes one person to change the direction of a life. One. I looked at Eleanor again. She nodded. Small, steady. And sometimes, that person isn't your family. That line landed hard. Visible reaction across the audience. I continued. Family isn't always who you're born to. It's who shows up. No emotion, just clarity. So, to the graduating class I straightened slightly. Your worth isn't decided by who stays, it's decided by what you choose to become. After they leave, silence. Then, applause, slow at first, then building, standing, wave after wave. I stepped back, gave a small nod, and walked off stage. Backstage, the noise dimmed instantly. Like stepping out of a storm, David looked at me like he'd just witnessed something he didn't fully understand. He stopped. Yeah. I didn't respond, just exhaled slowly. For the first time in years, my chest felt clear. Through the curtain, I saw Ava walk across the stage later. Her smile was tight, forced, applause, uneven. Some clapped, some didn't. Most just watched, not celebrating, observing. That was enough. After the ceremony, David approached. They want to see you. Who your parents? I adjusted my sleeve. Thought about it for half a second. I'll give them 5 minutes, no more. They were waiting near the side entrance. My dad looked older than I remembered. My mom, smaller. Ava stood behind them, not hiding, just diminished. I stopped a few feet away. Kept distance. You wanted to talk. My dad struggled to find words. We didn't know, I figured. My voice stayed neutral. We're sorry, my mom said. Already breaking. I nodded once. Okay. That threw them off. They expected anger, emotion, something. I didn't give it to them. We made a mistake, my dad said. You made a decision, I corrected. Silence. It wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. Ava stepped forward slightly. I'm sorry, she said. I looked at her. Really looked. You had 13 years to say that, she flinched. I was scared. I was 15. That was it. No raised voice, no escalation. Just fact. My dad tried again. Can we fix this? No. Simple, clear, final. We're not a family, I added. Not anymore. My mom reached toward me. I stepped back. Not aggressive, just enough. That boundary stays. They understood. Or at least, they had no argument left. Eleanor stepped beside me quietly. Presence. Support. We didn't stay longer than necessary. I turned. Walked away. Didn't look back. That was the moment everything closed. Not with anger, not with revenge, with clarity. The week after the ceremony, my phone didn't stop ringing. Voicemails stacked up. My dad's voice. Over and over, Ethan. Please call me back. We need to talk. I'm sorry. Emails followed. Long ones from my mom, paragraphs of regret, explanations that tried to soften what couldn't be softened. We didn't understand. We were overwhelmed. Ava was struggling. I read a few, then I stopped. There was nothing in those messages I hadn't already lived through. Work kept moving. Applications came in faster than we could process them. The speech had spread clips online, reposts, comments from people I'd never met. Some said it helped them. Some asked if it was real. Some just wanted to know what happened to the family. I ignored that part. Focused on what mattered. The program grew. More funding, more schools, more students who needed something I understood too well. Then one email stood out. Subject line, you should see this. It was from someone I didn't recognize, one of Ava's former friends. Inside were screenshots, group chats, messages, people distancing themselves, questioning her, calling out the lies. One message stuck. She told us her brother died. That's not normal. Another, I don't trust anything she says anymore. I closed the email. Sat there for a moment. I expected to feel something. Anger. Satisfaction, something. But mostly, I felt nothing. Just a quiet sense of distance, like watching something unfold far away that no longer had control over me. That night, Eleanor and I had dinner. Same routine, same calm. How are you holding up? She asked. I thought about it. Lighter, I said, finally. She nodded. They'll keep trying to reach you, I know. Do you want them to? I didn't answer immediately. Then, no, not out of spite, just clarity. She reached across the table. Squeezed my hand once, that's enough. Then, 2 weeks later, my assistant buzzed me. There's a man here asking for you. Says he's your father. I closed my laptop slowly. Give me 5 minutes. When he walked into my office, he looked smaller. Like the version of him I remembered had been worn down over time. "Thank you for seeing me," he said. "I have 20 minutes," I replied. We sat across from each other, formal, distant. "I need to say this properly," he started. "What I did to you. What I said. It was unforgivable." I didn't respond. "Your sister told us everything," he continued. "The truth, finally. 13 years too late. I know that doesn't fix anything," he added quickly. "But I need you to understand we've lived with this. Every day." "You should," I said. No anger. Just fact. His hands shook slightly. "Is there anything I can do?" "No." The word landed clean. Immediate, final. His eyes filled. "Can you forgive us?" I leaned back slightly. "Forgiveness isn't the problem," I said. "Trust is." Silence stretched between us. "You chose her lies over me," I continued. "You called me broken. You threw me out. I know you don't." My voice stayed calm. "You don't know what that does to someone at 15. He looked down. There was nothing left to say. When he left, I didn't feel closure. Because closure had already happened. At the stage, at the moment I walked away. A few days later, Ava emailed. I almost deleted it, but I opened it. She didn't try to excuse it. Didn't soften it. She admitted everything. The jealousy, the planning, the screenshots, the bruise, the lies that stretched for over a decade. And one line stood out. "I didn't think it would go that far." I read that twice. Then once more. Then I closed the email, saved it, didn't respond. She sent more after that, shorter, more desperate, until... Finally, I replied once. "I forgive you for my own peace. But I don't want contact." "Respect that." She didn't write again. Life kept moving. Faster than before. The scholarship program expanded to 10 universities. 83 students supported. 83 stories that didn't end the way mine almost did. I spoke at conferences, wrote papers, sat in rooms with people who made decisions that actually changed systems. And for the first time, I wasn't reacting to life. I was shaping it. A year later, things were steady, good, even. I had a routine, work that mattered, people who chose to be there. Eleanor turned 60. We threw a small gathering, colleagues, students, people whose lives she'd touched. I gave a short toast. To the person who showed me that family isn't assigned, it's built. She didn't say anything after, just hugged me. That was enough. Sometimes, I think about my old family. Not often, not painfully. Just briefly, like passing a place you used to live. Recognizable, but no longer yours. They sent a Christmas card once, no message, just names. I put it in a drawer. Didn't throw it away. Didn't respond. It existed, that was all. People ask me sometimes if I regret that night. The storm, the accident, everything that came after. I don't. Because it forced a break that needed to happen. It removed me from something that would have kept shrinking me, and replaced it with something I built myself. Here's what I learned. You don't owe access to people who hurt you, not even if they share your blood. Especially not if they share your blood. Forgiveness doesn't require reconnection. You can let go without letting them back in. Family isn't about origin, it's about consistency. About who shows up, who stays, who chooses you. Eleanor chose me every day. That's what made her my family. Every year, around October, I drive past that old house, not to relive anything, just to remember. I sit in the car, look at the door, the windows, and I think, that kid made it out. Not clean, not easy, but he made it. And then he built something from it. If you're in something like that right now, hold on. Not to them, to yourself. You get to decide what happens next. You get to decide who stays and who doesn't. That's my story. Not about revenge, not about proving anything, just about building something better. If this stayed with you, take a second to like and subscribe. It helps stories like this reach people who might need them, and if you've ever had to choose distance over damage, you're not alone. This story was created by the Bear Reddit team for entertainment purposes only. Do not attempt to replicate or apply any actions from this content in real life.